listening to Smashing the Party. This is your host, Nate Baumberger.
Welcome to Smashing the Party. I think that title's wrong. I'll fix it in post. This is a surprise after hours breaking news. I don't know why it still says grandma's. Listen, I fired somebody today from my team because of the title that they chose. If you're on Instagram and you don't have sound, I apologize. I did not bother to debug it, so you can just deal with it like everyone else. But anyway, jokes aside, I got on today not because of Biden's grandma plan. If you haven't seen that one, that was done on Thursday. I just got on today because it's Saturday. As you can see, I'm wearing a green shirt, so my green screen's all jacked up. No cares. Wanted to get on because I wanted to spit my game about the zeitgeist before everyone starts talking about it, because I'm feeling it. And it's not just a positive feeling. It's just a feeling of what's going on in the political climate right now, okay? And this is just me calling it, shooting from the hip. Out of the gate, it's Saturday. I got nothing better to do. Lies, all lies. But I wanted to get on to talk about this because here's the deal. And I was on this early, and maybe that's why I'm getting on to puff my chest out. Who knows? I told you so, mountain, let's call it. But here's the thing. What you're seeing right now is this concentration on the policies, on the Project 2025. People are digging. People are researching it. Memes are popping out. You know, everyone's talking about it now. And now the president's trying to distance himself. This is Trump, by the way. If you don't know, this is the big Heritage Foundation think tank product. Their culmination of an aggregation of all their work to put all their policy, execution, and presidential transition plan together, so that whoever wins the Republican presidential ticket, which in this case, the party is the party of Trump, they would have this action plan, which people are talking about now. But as I said in my Project 2025 Part 3, I had to do it a couple times, almost stuttered there. I said this before. The crazy parts, yes, there's crazy parts interlaced in it, and people should be up in arms. But when you look at the agenda of what the comes out of the Heritage Foundation, you can look at that conservative ethos that's been consistent. And so I made the argument that it's not that crazy, only the execution plan and this vetting process and all these different things that they're going to do to check people's credentials, essentially, where their political, alliance is. That shit's, like, again, going off the deep end. It's in there. But even the stuff that they're talking about, that people are screaming about, has been on the agenda since 20, basically hardened into the agenda since the Obama years. I mean, 2012, they came swinging. They came swinging hard. So let's just be honest. That's why in my kind of analysis, if you'll call it that, I say there's crazy in here, but it's just the same crazy that I've been freaking out about with the Republican Party in general. And so you're now seeing this convergence of the Republican platform trying to distance itself from the agenda that's in the Heritage Foundation. However, the products of the Heritage Foundation are all over everything the Republicans have been doing for the last 30 years. And so you can't really distance yourself too far from that. But then the crazy stuff's there, and obviously it's tied to Trump. And so, there's a meme right now of Spider-Man pointing to Mein Kampf, Project 2025, RNC. Which one's which? But this is a good thing. And I wanted to get on and talk about this because this is the way you got to beat, when you have a candidate that may not be able to do the selling, then the whole engine needs to do the selling. And this is selling the benefits and the differences and showing the negativity of the policies when implemented of the other side. It's good stuff. You don't see personalities here. There's nobody in there. And so I'm saying this is good for both sides, that they can argue ideas. No personalities. Okay, we've got old guy, who is totally going to be president if, if we care about our future, and I'm not suggesting just because he's old, I'm not going to vote for him. Yada, yada. I made a whole thing about that people are hyping up about, and I've probably pissed off some friends, maybe liberals, but whatever. He's old. I made a thing about it. Yada, yada. So, but you've got Trump, which is, again, not a possibility. But even with those two things, what I hate about presidential politics is like, all right, are you really going to switch your side? Or are you going to really kind of flip? And I understand that people do flip at the end, and this has always been an anomaly, and I can't understand it. But you understand what the parties are trying to accomplish. So the figurehead is the person who does the best selling, and one could argue Donald Trump was in benefit to Republicans because he basically created a whole distraction plan so they could just crank things out in the behind the scenes. And so he's just running scandals, which is deference, and that was their style of governing. And it was effective for them. Again, whether or not that's healthy for our democracy, we're finding out what an existential crisis Donald Trump is. But anyway, that aside, you can see how the figurehead kind of becomes this person where you have to support them instead of the ideas. And that's what I'm saying, what I like about right now in this maybe snapshot of time, this zeitgeist, the spirit of the times. I don't know why my sacrilegious assistant had to put Holy Spirit in the title, probably trying to get clicks, but I fired him and his whole team today. I don't mess around with sacrilegious shit in my feed. But the truth is that this time of saying, all right, let's just really talk about the thick of what's going on and why all of a sudden Donald Trump's trying to distance himself from this. And yet, the folks that put their hands into this have been doing these things and just wanted to codify it into an execution plan to get it done quickly, kind of really yanking on the strings of democracy and kind of bypassing a lot of what we have, what we would like to call a neutral government. And whatever you want to think about the government, whether you hate it, love it, or not, a lot of the government operates not from a political position. That would be chaos. But this is the institution that they want to recreate with this Project 2025, which does mirror some of the things that they did in Nazi Germany. It does mirror some of the things that Republicans have been talking about, reshaping government with this activist government for years. So, finally, with this policy plan, maybe in this one snapshot instance of time before we forget it and ADHD of America kicks in and we're just off to the next shiny thing, we can actually, with a microscope for a second, or maybe with a large, wide lens, look at the similarities with this controversial Project 2025, with all the things that have been going on and how it maps to all these other things we know about in history. So to me, it's a great moment. I had to get on and talk about it. Look, no one watches me live. It's Saturday. I expect everyone's out sweating. But I just wanted to get that on tape before somebody else says it, because this is where we need to be. The cult of personality, he's always going to have his base. Joe Biden's going to have his base. Let's talk about issues. Let's talk about policies and hold both parties accountable. And you're going to see right now, I believe that the Democrats should come out strong when you actually talk about real life policies, which is why, by the way, that Biden's grandma plan was me talking about a ruling that came out from the Biden campaign or the administration that changes the game in old, nursing homes and nursing residency to the benefit of employees and residents and all that stuff. So, winning on policy, I want to talk about policy, which is why, when I got back on knowing that there's a possibility of Trump coming back into play here, I'm frustrated because I remember it's like it's hard to talk about anything else when it's just this oxygen suck. So right now in this moment, people do have the cult of personalities and people are trying to kick around and rename things to disassociate. But if you pause, take a breath, and just read and look at the reality of things, you can see that there's no distancing anybody that's on the Republican side from this Project 2025. And that is a winning proposition, in my opinion, because there are so many things that are transformationally different than what our vision is for America, that if you paint that broad picture for everybody and that's what you're marketing and selling, it doesn't matter if you have old Joe or anybody. So I'm more positive if this moment could somehow be stretched out, and extended till Election Day. I think it would be a great thing, because it would put America on the right path to looking at policies, getting out of the cult of personality, getting out of the MAGA cult of personality, getting, even kind of helping Democrats to understand, look, you can actually change your figurehead at the end. Had we done that, we still would have won by X amount, because people get it. I know it's called kitchen table shit, but it's got to be more real than that. It's kitchen table's weird because no one sits around the kitchen table anymore. It's got to be like, all right, these are reality things that impact your freedom right now. Grandmas and grandpa being in a rest home and all the stress that comes with of doing that, blah, blah, blah. Real shit. Everyone's going to go old. So you start talking about that. And I'm not saying that Grandma Biden's plan is the ticket, but right now this Project 2025 is in a nexus of time and space where people are talking about the realities of it and should be frightened with the execution plan that Republicans have in play. And maybe it require people to look at the policy and say, wait, you're actually inferring, you're overstepping into people's freedom with this family values rule or whatever it is. And people start thinking about long term. So anyway, had to get on live. Hopefully that made some kind of sense. But it's maybe a positive swing or a moment that, if extended, could prove that we could focus on policy and things instead of, this fucking crazy rat race of old guy versus criminal. All right, that's all I got. So, After Hours. I'll see you guys. It was just a pop-up, just a quickie.